the city of waters, both beaches, and we have oceans and rivers, right? And as such, water quality is really important for both public health and for industries. But there are constant threats to such water safety, ranging from summer algal blooms to abandoned vessels. Water is Busan's identity and livelihood, and it is crucial for the city to do everything to keep the waters clean. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, August 6th on befm, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. It was another hot one last night. It's kind of like the morning greeting these days. Oh, it was so hot. How many times did you wake up last night? That's our kind of greeting in the morning. So I hope you are surviving the summer heat. You know, as a city surrounded by water, major rivers crossing our city, water quality is of utmost importance to us. And this is true not just for the water we swim in, but also the waters around Busan Port. This potential pollutant source comes from things like abandoned boats and ships, specifically 130 such vessels in Busan Port. Oil from these vessels has been leaching out into the waters, and the smell, or shall I call it the stink, is reeking quite badly in this blazing summer heat. These vessels are ones where the owners, basically, of these ships have reported to the authorities that they're not being used and they haven't come back to do maintenance. Basically, some of these vessels have been seized by financial authorities and subsequently abandoned. These vessels apparently have risks of capsizing as they are filled with rainwater. And the oil that leaches out, they get onto other vessels, causing major inconveniences for them. And as typhoon season is coming up, safety concerns are growing as well. You know, the bulk of these abandoned vessels are in the North Port, and experts call for preemptive and proactive administration, keeping contact with the owners of said vessels and creditors for cases of seized vessels. In fact, there was an oil leak out of this 1,121-ton foreign fishing boat docked at Kamcheon Port. This was not an abandoned vessel, but it is indeed an environmental concern. This is an issue we don't think of often. It's not reported on every day, but it is definitely one that concerns all of us because we are very much affected by the waters that surround us. That's our main story today. However, for our text topic, I hope you're ready, Wavers. We're going to be talking about your spouse, or maybe we'll say life partner, whether you have one or in theory, okay? If you had to choose between a partner who is exactly like you versus a partner who is the complete opposite of you, who would you rather live with for the rest of your life? And by the way, you cannot say, I want to be alone. You cannot choose. So if you had to choose, yeah, I'm going to put that caveat out there. You cannot say, I choose to be alone. So if I'm forcing you to choose, okay, because this is just, pretend. If I'm forcing you to choose, yes, what kind of partner would you choose? Someone who is exactly like you versus someone who is the complete opposite. And you cannot choose somewhere in the middle. 자, 나는 배우자가 1번, 나랑 완벽하게 반대인 사람 versus 나랑 똑같은 사람 중 어떤 사람. 그리고 한 사람만 선택할 수 있고 중간쯤도 안 되고 나는 혼자, 나는 솔로 안 돼요. You have to pick one. So Tell me what your choice is. You can send it into the live stream live chat on YouTube. Search for our channel. Search for BEFM, 부산영어방송 on the YouTube channel. You do have to subscribe, log in, and you can chat away with our other waivers. Pound 9050. That's another option. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can reach me for free on our Kakao Talk channel. You can listen to us, watch us real time right now on YouTube. You can also use that platform to watch us at any time at your leisure. Also, you can catch us on the Patbang app as well. Let's look at the lineup for this Tuesday morning. We have Jimmy. He's filling in for Andrew with Sports Insider. We have Bonnie with the health. You know, we've been focusing a lot on the Paris Olympics, and the Paris Olympics these games have been touted as the greenest games ever. Are they really green or greenwashed? We're going to have to find out in hour number 2 with our expert that's coming up, but I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06, and these are today's headlines. Stocks see biggest drop as chief financial regulation calls for calm. South Korean stocks tumbled by the most on record to a near 9-month low yesterday, with the Kospi plummeting a record 234.64 points. Opposition passes yellow envelope bill, PPP proposes veto. The bill passed with 177 yeas and 2 nays, with the ruling People Power Party, or PPP, lawmakers walking out in protest. The PPP will propose that President Yoon Suk-yeol veto the bill. Five more die from heat wave as country marks 12 tropical nights on average. The number of people killed from heat-related illnesses have risen to 14 as 5 people were added to the tally, according to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency. Bangladesh Prime Minister resigns after months of violent protests. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has resigned and fled the country as jubilant crowds took to the streets, with some storming the prime ministerial palace. An Se-young takes a first badminton singles gold in 28 years. An Se-young defeated Ha Bingdao of China 2-1 in the badminton women's singles in Paris on Monday local time, taking her first Olympic gold medal, giving South Korea its first badminton singles title in 28 years. And these are today's headlines. And now we're going to check in with Haley for Busan Updates. Good morning.
Good morning.
So how many times did you wake up?
Just once.
Oh, really?
I thought I was gonna kick out my dad from the master bedroom. It's the only bedroom with the AC.
Yes.
But
Did
I
you?
thought it was gonna be okay last night. It was kind of cool last night. I don't know what I was on, but yeah, lots of water. I was very hydrated. Must have been why. But then, yeah, so I was like, it's fine. And then I woke up at 3. I'm like, can I do that? Too late? Too early? Can't no.
You would be a
it's not.
bad daughter kicking your dad out.
Is this how I get kicked out of my parents'
house.
home? Yeah, finally.
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't. I stayed put.
Okay, so if you had to choose, which would you rather? Someone, a life partner that is the complete opposite of you, or someone who is completely just like you? Oh my gosh.
Both so unbearable.
I can't imagine a male Haley.
Yeah.
I know, our producer's like laughing. Can you imagine?
I mean, this is just... Okay, so actually, both my people who are closest to me are my polar opposites. So my little sister,
okay.
she's very relaxed. She's very chill.
Okay. Yes.
And then my best friend from the States, she's also very chill, never on time. And it is unbearable. I just can't. I die a little bit every single time we make plans. And I have told her that we're meeting somewhere 2 hours earlier, and then she was on time. Yeah, so she was 2 hours late.
Okay.
I was like, so if I had to choose, if you're forcing me, someone who's exactly like me, but future potential partner, one of us is going to have to clean, and it's not going to be me. Yeah, so just be aware of that. Yeah.
Okay, now we know.
Now we know.
All right. We are going to talk about the heat wave, right? And we are complaining, but it has been disastrous for workers, especially those that work outside, right?
Absolutely. So heat wave related deaths and also industrial casualties, they have been rising in Busan. So over the past weekend, a 1-ton cooling panel at a construction site in Gangso at a steel plant fell some 5 meters on top of 2 workers who were underneath. One died and another one is under treatment. And the panel apparently slipped from the lift while it was being lifted into the air. So the police are looking into professional negligence charges, and the local labor office also looking into whether the workplace had proper safety and protection measures in place, and whether also it had violated the Serious Accident Punishments Act, or SAPA.
Right.
And then going to another case. Last week we reported on this case. A construction worker in his 60s died of a heat stroke. And apparently that work site is run by the same developer who was punished under the SAPA 2 years ago.
Oh.
Actually, that was the very first serious accidents punishment charge raised in Busan. So apparently some problems still exist within this work site.
Okay.
So an official from the city's umbrella labor union said, we need to have stricter punishments and not a slap on the wrist in order to prevent pushing workers to their death.
Yes. And so definitely that is something that needs to be investigated to make sure that does not happen again. And actually, Busan Metropolitan Corporation is under scrutiny for having applicants for its public housing program lineup in the heat wave. We're talking about heat wave related issues for hours, right?
Right. So this happened yesterday morning. So the Busan Metropolitan Corporation, the BMC, had applicants for the remaining units of its public housing come and apply in person. So there are some 290 units total across 5 separate public housing complexes. And initially, they had announced that it was going to be first come, first serve.
Right.
So public housing, of course, they are more affordable in nicer areas. So because of this, hundreds of people came early in the morning to be the first or the earlier ones in line. So it's been noted that a line of several hundred meters had formed early morning past a Puam station. And we're talking about 7 a.m., like hours before the office opened.
Right.
But it wasn't actually first come, first serve. So the notice had been off. So the numbers for a random draw, it was a lottery system. The numbers would be handed out first come, first serve. But because it's random, it really doesn't matter if you're number 1 or number 5,000, for example.
If it's random, yeah.
Right, if it's random. So people kind of lined up there in the sun. I mean, it was,
no reason.
what was it? 30 degrees by the time we were on air.
Right.
So they're definitely outside. Subway stations, there are no shades. So people had to wait outside the heat that had climbed to 34 degrees by the time they were able to get in. So the corporation says it got waves of complaints and it is trying to figure out how to respond to these issues.
I wish there had been some foresight,
Right.
meaning ahead of time, some thinking. All right. Next, the Busan Museum of Contemporary Art is famous for the plants. Oh, the foliage up, covering the building's facade. So beautiful. But the museum has been having some trouble keeping the ferns alive.
Right. So the plants are actually a work of art. They
Yes.
are in collaboration with an artist, and it's called Vertical Garden. And of course, it's a landmark feature that really sets that museum apart. Quite
Yes.
beautiful. So this is actually a well-known method to bring greenery into an urban area when land is scarce. So you can't
Yes.
have the conventional gardens. But then the problem is that in the heat, the plants have been dying off. And then also there's a major downside to such vertical gardens, gravity. So the way water flows,
Science.
it's really hard to water the plants because water flows down straight. So because of how they're formed, the gardens have to be watered more frequently because the water doesn't pool over the soil and lets the plants soak it up and it just drips straight down. So that means in extreme weather, and we're talking about both the heat and the cold, the plants die very easily.
Yes.
So what that means, because this is a public facility, higher costs for maintenance. And now those costs come from taxpayer money. So the budget for the gardens alone is 100 million won per year. It's 1억 won just to keep the plants and keep them alive. So that raises eyebrows about, we understand greenery is important, and of course that's a landmark in and of itself.
It is beautiful.
But 100 million won of taxpayer money just for watering and, all that. So the museum says that they are in constant collaboration with the artists to replace the plants to suit the environment and the needs of the area, and ask people to not only look at this as, a form of taxpayer spending, but a form of art itself. Embrace it, and to, the process of plants thriving and then dying with the weather is also kind of the ephemeral nature of this piece of art.
Yes. So there has to be a balance, right? All right, for our final item, Busan City is running a voluntary pet registration period.
Right, so dog owners, listen up. You do have to register your dogs that are raised as pets within 30 days of acquiring or adopting the dog. And you can visit a veterinarian that's been designated by the city or the district or county to attach a chip onto the dog's collar or inject it.
Okay.
Experts do recommend an injection method because the collar can, come off easily. Also, you do get fined if you don't do this. However, we are in a voluntary registration period, so even if you do come a little bit late, there won't be fines. By the way, how do you go about doing this? If your dog is already registered, but there are some changes, maybe you guys moved, you can do this pretty easily at www.animal.go.kr. However, if the dog has changed ownership, if the owner changed, then you do have to visit your respective district or county office to register that.
Okay.
By the way, if you don't register your dog, the fine is under 600,000 won, but that will be waived during this voluntary period, so be sure to do that.
All right. Thank you for all the Busan updates. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. That was Haley. Back to you, the listeners. We're talking about choices. So if you had to choose, and I'm forcing you to choose, between a partner who is exactly like you, just like you, versus someone who is completely the opposite of you, which would you choose? And here's your traffic and weather. All right, listeners, here is your traffic report. It is now 7:18. It's looking a little slow on Nakdong-Namno from Hadan intersection to Haguwon Bridge right now. It's also backed up on Luno-Samsungdaedo from Myeongho intersection to Shinho Bridge. As for the weather, it is already 28 degrees Celsius and it's pretty sunny out there. Daytime high will go up to 34 degrees Celsius for another hot one today. It is going to be hot across the country, but showers are forecast for the capital area, parts of the west coast, Gangwon, and also the southwestern area. Weather authorities warn of gusts of wind with thunder and lightning in some areas. So please be aware of this. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for a news digest. And oh goodness, yesterday, this was quite a day, Haley, was it not, for the stock market? I mean, it was kind of surprising. Big news, right?
Right. So not only was it quite a day, but it was the worst day for the Korean stock market. So the benchmark Kospi, it dipped by a record margin of 8% at the close of the day yesterday. That is the biggest drop ever. So that's something we call 급락장. And this prompted the authorities to activate a sidecar and then a circuit breaker. We'll get to that in a bit.
Sure.
But then I'm looking at the lowest because it ended the day lower at 8%, but then at the lowest, it sunk below the 2,400 line, ending the day at 2,441.55. And then looking at the second largest market, the Kosdaq, which is tech heavy, that ended the day 11.3% lower at 691.28. And the Korea Exchange also had to impose a circuit breaker around the afternoon, a little before 2. And by the way, this is the first time in 4 years and 5 months that a circuit breaker has been imposed to the domestic market. The 6th time ever for the Kospi, 10th ever for the Kosdaq.
Right, but let's go over some of the terminology, specifically things like circuit breaker, sidecar. What do these things mean?
Right, so this basically tries to put a stop to kind of panic dumping,
yes.
to basically a bank run in terms of the stock market. So a sidecar and a circuit breaker are pretty much similar. They're regulatory measures in that they stop stock trading after the index or the market falls below a certain point.
Right.
So a sidecar is kind of a smaller pause. It's put into effect for the Kospi after it falls by over 5% compared to the day before, and it's only imposed for 5 minutes. So it's very brief, and it's automatically lifted after that.
Okay.
And then a circuit breaker is longer, and it may be imposed for a longer time. That stops trading for about 20 minutes in yesterday's case, and it depends on the level. Yesterday's, once again, the circuit breaker was imposed for 20 minutes.
So do we know what caused this huge fluctuation in the stock market?
We actually can pinpoint to one thing, and it's a U.S. jobs report from last Friday.
Okay.
So this caused not only panic in the Korean market, but kind of a global financial panic. So it kind of goes back, why is this such a big deal? Well, the Federal Reserve, the Fed, they've been holding the benchmark borrowing rate steady without lowering them for months and months and months now, for a record time, because what they're trying to do by keeping the borrowing rate high is to keep growth going, but also at the same time keep inflation down, kind of the Goldilocks of an economic situation.
Yes.
However, when you suppress the markets too strongly, then that can stroke fears of a recession, the big R, right? So the recent job report where the job numbers were lower than expected, that stroked such fears. So recession in Korean would be 경기 침체.
Okay.
So with the labor market performing in this kind of a disappointing manner, it's all but certain that the Fed will lower the rates come September. And some critics do say that they should have done this earlier, that this may be too little too late. But of course, with the economy, you never know.
And that's true. And now we're going to turn our attention to the U.S. market on the first day after that jobs report you just mentioned that triggered this global response, including here in Korea.
So Wall Street on Monday local time also had a bad day. Their market just closed a couple hours ago. So all three major indexes saw a huge decline as well. So we're looking at the NASDAQ having fallen more than 6% at one point.
Okay.
The S&P 500 plunging by 4.25%. The Dow down by over 1,000 points on several occasions. So overall, both the Dow and the S&P had their worst day in over 2 years. And by the way, I'm looking at some major stocks. Apple was down by over 4%. Nvidia by 5%. Even Bitcoin, so off of the traditional stock market to cryptocurrency, Bitcoin plummeted to under $50,000, which is the first time in over 6 months this has happened. And then it's, as I said, it's not just the U.S. and Korea. On Monday, Japanese stocks suffered their biggest daily losses since 1987.
Oh, goodness.
Right.
Yes. So that is what happened. And thanks for thoroughly explaining such a difficult situation to our waivers. We are going to move on to our next topic, though. Let's talk about how people in South Korea, how people see society.
Right. So according to the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs survey, 2 out of 3 South Koreans do not think the country is fair.
Oh, really?
Right, so that's quite a large number. So this is based on their annual survey over adults between the ages of 19 and 75.
Okay.
And in terms of where they see the biggest problems with fairness, low trust over the judicial and the administrative system. So basically your kind of local bureaucracy and the courts, as well as corporate performance assessment. So how your promotions are working out, how your pay raises are working out. And then they pointed to causes like corruption and excessive competition as the root cause of such unfairness. But what was really interesting, people kind of had fairly high faith in the college admission system.
Really?
This being a very sensitive issue in South Korea.
Sure.
That's good news.
Okay.
And then also, there was a huge gender disparity on how people saw women being treated within society. So 71% of men thought society treated women equally. But then as to how women felt, only 59% thought that they were being treated equally. So gender has been a sensitive issue, especially for the younger generation. So young people also had negative perceptions on discrimination overall, 46.5% thinking they themselves were discriminated against in Korean society. And within the youth group, they pointed to conflicts with gender, class, and political ideology as the most serious dividers.
So different among age group and also along gender lines. Well, the survey asked something related to our text topic, whether people were willing to date or marry someone of vastly different opinions than they were.
Right. So we're asking for our text topic just overall, personality, character, whatnot. But the specific question here in the survey was someone of a vastly different political or societal ideology than you were. 58%, no. They're not willing to do that. They couldn't date or marry someone who had a different political leniency than they did. And then 9 out of 10 people thought the differences between progressives or liberals versus conservatives in the country were quite big and serious.
Okay.
So this led to a fairly low perception on how unified or united our society is, 4.2 points out of 10. So that would be a very low F at that. And interestingly, the social unity numbers jumped during COVID when we had kind of a common enemy to deal with, the virus. And there was reason for society to unite. However, that unity level fell after the pandemic.
We were in survival mode.
We were in survival mode.
Not
so
anymore,
we were
it
on the
seems.
same team.
We were all human beings back then trying to survive. All right, for our last item, we're going to go to the Middle East, where Iran may be gearing up for retaliation against Israel.
Right. So there is kind of a ticking bomb time bomb situation ticking, quite literally and figuratively. So greater conflict involving Iran and Hezbollah against Israel may be imminent. And I'm citing the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. So there are unconfirmed reports that cited multiple sources that Blinken warned that Iran and Hezbollah may attack Israel within 24 to 48 hours in a conference call with the leaders of G7. And that was Monday local time. So we are solidly in that time frame.
Sure.
So Iran and Hezbollah, for a bit of background, they pledged to retaliate against the 2 killings of top commanders, top generals, one political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, and Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr. So experts have presented even attack scenarios, not only a targeted military attack in Tehran, but also U.S. military forces in the region, as well as Israel's gas reserves in the Mediterranean. So it would be both economic and military. And Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, issued a warning against Iran and Hezbollah, saying, if they dare to attack us, they will pay a heavy price. So this then points at kind of a mutual attack potentially.
Yes.
So Blinken, for his part, told his G7 counterparts that the U.S. hopes to halt the escalation by persuading, through diplomacy, to limit their attacks and restrain Israel's response. And he also asked the other foreign ministers to join in on these diplomatic efforts.
Okay. So countries, we've mentioned this briefly, countries are warning their respective citizens to leave Lebanon.
Right. So this includes South Korea, the US, the UK, Australia, France, Canada, so on and so forth. And they're urging their citizens to leave Lebanon as soon as possible, basically taking whatever civilian flight is available. And the thing is, there are not that many. So as for Korean citizens, there are currently 550 Koreans residing or in Israel, 120 in Lebanon, and 110 in Iran. So the South Korean Foreign Ministry convened a meeting yesterday, and they've urged Korean nationals living in the country to leave quickly. However, as with Korea and the U.S., sending in a chartered flight on the government level is currently apparently not an option.
I see. But I mean, if all these respective governments are urging citizens to leave, that means they do
so quickly, right?
Yeah,
so something is going to happen.
Yes. Well, thank you for all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. This is Haley with News Digest. All right, we are going to take a short song break, and here it is. This is Flowers by Miley Cyrus.
We were good, we were gold, kind of dream that can't be sold. We were right till we weren't, built a home and watched it burn. I didn't want to leave you, I didn't want to lie. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, see things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing, and I can hold my own head. Yeah, I can love me better than you can. Can love me better, can love me better, baby. Can love me better, can love me better. Paint my nails cherry red, match the roses that you laid. No remorse, no regret, I forgive every word you say. Ooh, I didn't want to leave you, baby, I didn't want to fight. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, yeah, say things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing, yeah, I can hold my own head, yeah, I can love me better than you can. Can love me better, can love me better, baby. Can love me better, can love me better, baby. Can love me better, can love me better, baby. Can love me better. I didn't want to leave you, I didn't want to fight. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, yeah, say things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing, yeah, I can hold my own hand, yeah, I can love me better than, yeah, I can love me better than you can. Can love me better, can love me better, can love me better, baby. Can love me better,
Welcome back, everybody. All right, so today, what are we talking about? Today's main story, we're talking about water quality here in Busan because we are a port city. We can't avoid it. Every summer, we talk about the algal bloom levels. They are very concerning. We did have a good start last month, actually, with the heavy rain washing away a lot of the blue-green algae. However, the recent bout of heat wave has brought all of this back, and the river authorities, they say that there is a high chance of an algal bloom alert going out soon. This affects us directly because Busan and 4 other municipalities get our water from the river. And of course, there are highly refined filtration processes, but there have been toxic substance called microcystine found in the water system. And we don't want to find that in our water, right? Neighboring Gyeongnam, that government is working with the new parliament to establish a dedicated governing body to handle this issue. But environmental groups call for more nature-based solutions, like increasing the flow of the water by opening the floodgates and letting the water flow. Yes. So that's the status. And water affects everything. We brush our teeth, we wash our bodies, we drink the water. So this is really important when you think about it. And that's why we're talking about it this morning. All right, for our text topic, we are talking about choosing spouses. So this is, one of these, which would you rather? I know some of you are married, some of you are not. We're just pretending. So we're not talking about your actual spouse, but if you had to choose. And yes, you have to choose. I'm forcing you to choose. Which would you rather? Choose a partner who is the complete opposite of you, or choose a person who is exactly like you. And you have to live with this person for the rest of your life. 자, 나는 내 배우자. 나랑 완벽하게 반대인 사람 vs 나랑 똑같은 사람. 이 둘 중에 꼭 선택해야 되고요. 나는 결혼은 안 할 거예요. 그런 답은 안 돼요. 꼭 선택해야 된다면 이 둘 중에 which one? Choose one. All right, looking at some of your responses, let's go to, first of all, Drift Monkey says yin and yang. So I'm assuming you're saying you would choose somebody who's the opposite of you. And Leslie says, I would choose my opposite to live with. My sun sign is Virgo, and I do have a lot of Virgo tendencies, so I need someone who is the opposite to balance me out, says Leslie. Yes. And June 1 waiver says, female June 1, nope. So I guess, many people are going with their opposite. Is there anyone that says they want like someone who's just like them? Nobody, not yet. Dana M says, I saw that survey, which I think is kind of understandable. So she's referring to the real survey that asked about our tendencies that we based the text topic on. So yes, that indeed, the actual survey was more realistic. And they're talking about the political leanings and whatnot. But today we're not talking about politics. Yeah, we don't do that for our text topic. So, and then I'll just read one more. Again, waiver says, 배우자는 로또가 아닌 걸로. So I was kind of thinking about that. So I was like, what do you mean by that? 로또는 안 돼요. 반대라는 거죠. So yes. And 토리님, 로또라던데. Yes. 하나라도 안 맞아서. Are you guys playing the lotto lately? Anyhow, thank you for your comments. Let's get to our hot clip for this Tuesday morning. For today's hot clip, it's all about the Olympics these days. However, for business owners in the Paris area, has it been really good? Let's find out with this clip from Al Jazeera.
Couples used to take padlocks with their names.
Paris is the most visited city in the world, but it doesn't look like it at the moment. There's not much of an audience for the guides on the tour boats up and down the Seine.
Normally, July and August are our strongest months. This year, we're down 25% compared to last year. August isn't looking very good. Usually the boats are full, and today we are about 40-50 people per departure. We thought this might happen.
Restricted access to some of the city's most famous monuments, concerns about security and high accommodation prices all seem to have put off some potential tourists. Immediately around the Olympic venues it's fairly busy, but the rest of Paris feels quieter. Airline group Air France KLM says it's taken a $200 million hit to revenues this quarter because tourists are avoiding Paris. Taxi driver Bekir Jian says he's not dropped a single customer at an Olympic venue that are anyway difficult to drive to. His union wants the government to support a compensation fund.
It's simple. Our daily revenue must be at least 50% down. In general, our customers are Parisians. But since the authorities have made it clear to Parisians to leave the capital to make way for all the tourists and all the people who are going to come for the Olympics, we no longer have any Parisians and we have very few tourists. We are really disappointed. We were promised we would have work. We have anything but.
Olivier Flotz cancelled summer holidays for staff at his restaurant and was looking forward to a flood of hungry tourists.
Paris is empty. I've never seen Paris this empty. Never. There is no one in the taxis, hotels or restaurants. This is the reality. We really hope that what we are enduring today will be rewarded tomorrow with improved business.
The Paris Tourist Office says average hotel prices recently dropped in a bid to lure last-minute travellers who've been put off by what they see as profiteering. So now might just be the best time to visit the City of Light.
So as you heard in that clip, there was a high expectation, especially for and from the business owners thinking, yes, the business that they were going to get. However, it's been really busy at the venues, but for the business owners, not so much so. However, although business is down now, data shows that traditionally, right after the Olympics, business does pick up. So hopefully that's what they can look forward to in the days, weeks, months, and even years after the Olympics. And Paris is Paris. Who can resist going to Paris, right? So this was your hot clip for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for our Sports Insider, and filling in for Andrew. Once again, we have, guess who? Jimmy's in the house.
Woo-hoo, Jimmy in the building.
Yay.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
So we were asking you off air, are you always in a good mood? And what was your answer?
Yeah. 98%. I'm
the time?
pretty much all the time happy and positive.
Yes. So always good to have you here. So we have a text topic to get to. You have to choose. And by the way, for our waivers who are wondering, they might be wondering, are you married?
No.
Okay. No, because it's about choosing partner. It wasn't like, okay. So today is like, if you had to choose a type of partner, so you have to choose, what would you choose? Which would you rather? A partner who is the complete opposite of you?
Okay.
Or versus someone who is just like you, completely the same.
Wow, that's super.
And you have to choose. Would you choose like some of the opposite or like female Jimmy, just like you?
I would rather, go on a date or in a relationship with somebody who's like me.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Female Jimmy.
Yeah, female Jimmy. Perfect.
Because someone who is like positive and happy.
Yeah, because as for me, like try to have good vibes only, and then if the opposite side of the person is kind of always down and depressed and negative, of course it's a pleasure to kind of help them to drag them up. But then also at the same time, it will be losing a lot of energy for me too. So I might be like falling down as well. So yeah, I would rather marry to a person who is positive.
And Tommy says, don't do it. Don't get married. Is that what you mean, Tommy? Don't do it. Don't get married. Is that what you mean? Okay. Well, anyhow, let's dive into some sports. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I know we have good news from the Paris Olympics, but I'm sure you guys have always talked about it. So I actually brought a news from MLB, the Major League Baseball.
Yes.
There is really, really interesting topic that it could potentially happen at the end of this August.
Oh, really? Okay. What is it?
Yeah. Have you ever heard about this baseball player named Danny Jansen?
Who's Danny Jensen?
He was actually a long-time catcher for Ryunjin when he played for Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just like to tell you guys that Danny Jansen is expected to play for both teams in a same game. It will be a first in MLB history.
Wait, what?
Yeah, for those of you guys who might not getting it, so one player might be able to play for both teams in one game.
Is that possible?
So that's why it actually never happened before.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm not. Okay, I like sports overall.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I know like most sports pretty well. I'm not an expert, but I've never heard of this.
Right?
Okay.
So let me walk it through with you guys. Long story short, back on June 26th, a game between Toronto Blue Jays and Boston Red Sox was actually suspended due to rain in the top of the second inning.
Okay.
And Jansen was at the bat at that time.
Okay.
And when the game was paused, after 2 months later, the game is set to resume on August 26th, which is this month.
Sure.
Yeah, but Jansen potentially playing for the Red Sox because he got traded at the end of the trade deadline.
Sure.
So which means when the game resumes on 26th, he could be in the lineup for both Boston Red Sox and Toronto Blue Jays.
Because of the trade?
Yeah. So, like, when the game is back on, he actually has to wear a uniform of a Blue Jays, and he has to become a hitter. That's when the game paused. Since he's a catcher,
yes,
he might potentially play as a catcher for the Red Sox.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what does this mean for the players in the game itself then?
Well, everybody's really, really hyped up and interested about it because this has actually never happened in MLB history.
I have never heard of this. So it's not just for me, it's new. This has never happened. It's unprecedented.
Never.
Okay. So how has the baseball community reacted to this news?
Yeah, I mean, just like me and probably most of you guys out there who's a huge fan of MLB, we are all like overwhelmed by it.
Yes.
Fans and also the analysts are willing to wait to watch this game.
Sure.
At the spot or on the spot.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So when is it happening again?
It will be actually happening on this upcoming August 26th.
Sure.
So for those of you who's MLB fans, make sure to be awake. Or I mean, I don't know what time it's gonna be on, but
check your local listing.
Check it out.
Yes. Well, I hear that you have more MLB news, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Since we talked about MLB, I'm a huge fan of the Dodgers.
I'm wearing Dodger blue.
Whoa, matching colors.
Yes.
Kind
How
of.
did we know?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about.
Why are you booing us, PD님? She was booing.
Whoa,
you're
LA
going too
represent.
far. Yeah, I know. Representing LA Dodgers, yes.
So the Dodgers are having a quite impressive season. Of
Sure.
course, Dodgers always play really well.
Of course.
But yeah, as of now, they are actually leading the NL West Division.
Oh, really?
National League West
Okay.
Division. They're on top of it. And their roster is just filled with talent. As you know, we have like Otani and Mookie Betts and like all the other players.
Sure.
And even like not that long ago, about a month or two, there was an All-Stars and then 5 players were chosen to play
That's
as
a
an
lot.
All-Star team. Yeah.
Yay. So who have been the standout players for Dodgers? And our PD님, 롯데 자이언츠 화이팅. Yay. No, for real, yay. Don't send me hate messages.
Yeah.
Yes. So who have been the standout players for Dodgers this season?
Well,
aside from,
Yeah, Otani.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I actually have Mookie Betts' uniform. So he's actually phenomenal this
Yes,
year. Both bat and in the field.
Yes.
And also, Freddie Freeman. He has also been powerhouse. And also like Otani and other players
I
as
mean,
well.
Otani is like a super mega superstar. Like,
Yeah.
we can't say enough about him, right?
He's another level.
Yes. Well, what are the expectations for the Dodgers as we move and, kind of get closer closer to the playoffs, right?
Right. Well, expectations are really, really high because we always made it to the championships and stuff, but then we always kind of slick through at last. So with their current form and the depth in the squad, the Dodgers are actually considered favorites to go deep into the playoffs.
Oh, we got a message from 자갈치 킹님. 롯데 유유유유. Oh, 마음 아파요. Oh, I know. Like every season, baseball season starts for here in Korea, and like we're so enthusiastic, and Andrew comes in, and we have high hopes, and then we start reporting on like the Lotte Giants for like 1 or 2 weeks, and then like up to maybe 3 weks, and then like there's less and less reporting from Andrew because there's not much to report on, right?
Yeah, we cannot really talk about it, so.
Maybe I put
Right.
Any upcoming games that we should be on the lookout for the MLB and for the Dodgers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Dodgers have some crucial games coming up against the division rivals, and also starting from today, actually. For the 3 consecutive games, they will be playing against Philadelphia.
Ooh.
So you may have to look an eye on it. And I am definitely going to watch it together. So for those of you out there, listeners, if you guys are a huge fan, let's watch it together and let's cheer for the team.
Yes. You can contact Jimmy personally. You guys can watch it together. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Yeah.
But anyhow, thank you so much for coming in and sharing this really special story.
Thank you.
And we will check in with you next week.
Next week.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, thank you. I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Well, looking at some of your messages, you guys are very, very interested. Oh, I know. People are like going on and on about the Lotte. I know, Lotte, yes. Don't blame me, though. I mean, we've been cheering on the Lotte Giants every single season. We do. We always do. But, as I say, there's always next year. There's always next season. We will forever be rooting for Lotte and for all the players as well. And for looking at some of your messages, I saw something really interesting. I think, Tommy, you're the only one that said you want somebody just like me, like meaning yourself. And I was kind of interested to know why you love yourself so much that you want a partner that is just like you. Because everybody else wants somebody like souvenir. 저도 반대 성향인데, like they want somebody else to balance them out. So I was wondering if you can send us a message as to why you want somebody that is just like you. Maybe there's a particular reason. Maybe it could be something other than you love yourself so much. Maybe there's another reason. Just very curious. Everybody else, like 90% of our listeners have been saying they want somebody that is a complete opposite. And that is our text topic. By the way, for our special interview, we are going to be talking about the Paris Olympics. They have been touted as the supposed greenest Olympics, but are they really green? Or are they just being greenwashed, meaning touted as being green, but not really green? That's coming up in hour number 2, so stay tuned for that, plus a lot more. And let's get to our final song for this first hour. And this is by Eminem. This is called Houdini. Enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
Hey, it's Paul. I was listening to the album. Good luck. You're on your own.
Back again. She's back. Tell her friend. Guess who's back? 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 Well, look what the stork brung. Little baby devil with the forked tongue. Ain't it sticking out, yeah, like a sore thumb. With a forehead that it grew horns from. Still a white jerk, pulling up in a Chrysler to the cypher with the Fikes perks and a Bud Light shirt. Lyrical technician, an electrician, y'all light work. And I don't gotta play pretend, it's you I make believe. And you know I'm here to stay, cause me, if I was to ever take a leave, it would be aspirin to break your feet. If I was to ask for Megan D Stallion, if she would collab with me, would I really have a shot at her feet? I don't know, but I'm glad to be back like Abracadabra. And for my last trick, I'm about to reach in my back, bruh. Like abracadabra. And for my last trick, just like that, and I'm back, bruh. Now back in
the days of old me. Right around the time I became a dope fiend. Ate some codeine as a way of coping. Taste of OB, it's case of OE. Turned me into smiley face emoji. May not be age appropriate, but I will hit an 8-year-old in the face with a participation trophy.
I had zero doubts that this whole world's about to turn into some Girl Scouts and censorship girls out.
So when I started this verse, it did start off lighthearted at first, but it feels like I'm targeted. Mind-boggling how my profit is skyrocketed. Look what I pocketed. Yeah, this is just like y'all have been, like jogging in. I've been running at full speed, and that's why I'm ahead like my noggin. I'm the fight y'all get in. When you debate who the best, but out some white chalk, and when I step up to that mic, cock it then. Oh my God, attention, not again.
Abracadabra.
And for my last trick,
I'm about to reach in my back, bruh. Abracadabra.
and for my last trick,
Just like that and I'm back, bruh.
break it down.
Sometimes I wonder what the old me say.
If what?
If he could see the way it is today, he'd probably say that everything is gay.
Like happy.
What's my name? What's my name?
So how many little kids still wanna act like me? I'm a bigger than cacti be, and that's why these words sting just like you were being attacked by bees in the coop, leaning back my seat. Open R. Kelly's favorite group, the black guy peas. In my Air Max 90s, white tees, walking parental advisory. My transgender cat Siamese identifies as black but acts Chinese. Like I'm all baggy sack, I treat the whole world cause I got it at my feet. Can I explain to you that even myself I'm a danger to? I hop on tracks like a kangaroo and say a few things that do to anger you. But that, if I think that I'ma say that cancel me, what? Okay, that's it. Go ahead, Paul, quit, snake. You male cross-dresser, fake. And I'll probably get for that, but you can also in fact, them, Dre, Jimmy, me, you. What? I'm young kids that brag. Come, take a screw off. Them and you are. You too, Paul. Got 2 balls. Biggest root balls. What you thought you saw ain't what you saw. Cause you're never gonna see me caught sleeping. See the kidnapping. Never did happen. Like Sherry Papini, Harry Houdini. I vanish into the thin air as I'm leaving like
Your Bridge to the World. BEF.
I have been surrounded by different Korean products, and this instilled a dream in me to explore Korea one day. This chance came for me in 2014 when I began attending Busan National University as a graduate student in computer engineering. I've lived in Korea for over 7 years and I even run my own business now, a company that is developing a platform based on artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. From my experience, I can say with an absolutely certainty that Busan was the best place for me to start my business, thanks to the specialized blockchain zone. In the past 7 years, Busan has become my second home and I obviously love it here. Global City Busan, we are in it together. This campaign was brought to you by befm, 부산영어방송.
김밥가게 박 사장님도 문구점 김 사장님도 우리 부산의 경제를 움직이는 사람들. 우리 동네 작은 가게로 향하는 발걸음이 우리 부산의 경제를 키워가는 한 걸음입니다. 부산 방송광고 발전 협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock and this is news highlights. Stocks see biggest drop as chief financial regulation calls for calm. South Korean stocks tumbled by the most on record to a near 9-month low yesterday, with the Kospi plummeting a record 234.64 points amid intensifying fears over U.S. economic recession. The tech-heavy Kosdaq fell by some 11%, with 235 trillion won of stock value disappearing in a single day. Foreign investor dumped a net 1.5 trillion won worth of stocks to spearhead the record-breaking crash. Institutions also sold a net 273.6 billion won, while individuals purchased a net 1.7 trillion won. Financial Services Commission Chief Kim Byung-hwan called for calm and rational decisions by investors and urged complete preparedness to immediately take market stabilization steps if necessary. Opposition passes Yellow Envelope Bill, PPP proposes veto. The opposition-controlled National Assembly passed a pro-labor Yellow Envelope Bill that limits companies from making claims for damages against legitimate labor union disputes despite protests from ruling party lawmakers. The bill passed with 177 yeas and 2 nays, with the People Power Party or PPP lawmakers walking out in protest. The PPP will propose that President Yoon Suk-yeol veto the bill. In the 2 months since the 22nd National Assembly opened, 7 bills have gone through the process of the opposition unilaterally pushing the bill only to be vetoed by the president, showing endless signs of partisan dispute. Five more die from heat wave as country marks 12 tropical nights on average. The number of people killed from heat-related illnesses have risen to 14 as 5 people were added to the tally over the weekend, according to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency. A total of 289 patients showing symptoms of heat-related illnesses were reported to emergency rooms across the country. In the meantime, the country has recorded an average of 12 tropical nights nationwide as of yesterday, breaking the record of 10 days set in 2018. Bangladesh Prime Minister resigns after months of violent protests. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has resigned and fled the country as jubilant crowds took to the streets, with some storming the Prime Ministerial Palace. President Mohammed Sahabuddin has announced an interim government would be formed and order the release of a jailed former prime minister and all students detained during the protests. At least 90 people were killed on Sunday in clashes between police and protesters, taking the death toll in recent weeks to more than 300. An Tae-young takes first badminton singles gold in 28 years. An Tae-young defeated He Bingjiao of China 2-1 in the badminton women's singles in Paris on Monday, taking her first Olympic gold medal, giving South Korea its first badminton single title in 28 years. An, however, expressed frustrations at her team and entire system behind the sport, saying that outrage is what has motivated her. South Korea now has 11 gold medals overall, just too shy of matching its Summer Olympics record set in Beijing in 2008 and matched 4 years later in London. And this was News Highlights. It is now time for Wa글 Wa글. We have Haley back in the studio.
Hello, hello.
All right, so let's get into our first story. You know, there have been a few explosions and fires involving electric vehicles, raising concerns about their safety and who may be responsible in terms of damages.
Right, so as the number of electric vehicles increase, so are the safety concerns and these issues.
Yes.
So recently, at an apartment complex in Cheongna, Incheon, a Mercedes-Benz electric vehicle, or EV, it exploded while it was parked inside an underground parking garage.
Right.
So the fire spread rapidly to the cars nearby, apparently fully incinerated 72 vehicles and caused damage to about 70 others. And what's more serious is it actually caused structural damages to the apartment. So it melted the electrical supply and the water pipes.
Yes.
So the residents, about 300 residents, are evacuated out of the building. There have been reports of concrete having been singed through, and that may require a rebuilding or restructuring of that place. So here's the mystery, though. The car was just parked. It wasn't being charged.
Right.
And it just exploded. So the car's owner told the police that he parked the car on that spot on July 29th and didn't drive it since then. So the police confirmed this via CCTV footage. So the car, that means, just exploded 59 hours after it was turned off.
That is the mystery. And then there was another EV that was set ablaze while it was being transported.
Right. So a brand new electric vehicle was under transport. This happened back in June, but it's coming to light now. But apparently just combusted into flames while it was inside the transport truck. And this also happened in Incheon. Apparently the fire happened in June, but a friend of the truck driver, posted this online, raising issues because the driver apparently has been having trouble getting compensations for the damage to his trucks because the transportation company that ordered for this transport and the car's manufacturer, as well as the owner of the vehicle, they're all just kind of bouncing the responsibility back and forth.
Ah, yes. So in both of these cases, the big question is this. Who is responsible? Because the damages have been extensive, especially, with the apartment fire.
Right. So this is a problem with electric vehicle fires. So let's look at the numbers. There are more fires that happen with internal combustion engines, so diesel and gasoline vehicles. But that's because there are way more of these conventional vehicles on the road. So if we're looking at the rate for EV fires is at 0.013%, pretty similar with internal combustion engines at 0.016%. But the damages, as we have been reporting, are way more expensive for electric vehicles because it's usually a fire with the battery, and that is located very much deep and lower in the lower part of the vehicle. So the firefighters cannot get to it because the rest of the vehicle is surrounding it.
Yes.
So usually the only way to put out these EV fire is submerging the vehicle completely underwater, which is impossible to do if it is parked near other cars or right next to other cars. So in these cases, because then the car is often just fully burned through, so is the evidence. So this makes proving manufacturer faults almost entirely impossible. So in this case, a Mercedes-Benz, the vehicle's manufacturer, may get into a legal battle with the battery supplier. Because this is what often happens looking at precedents. Back in 2019, there was a case involving Hyundai Motors' faulty EV battery cells that resulted in a recall order that cost the company 1.1 trillion won.
Right.
So Hyundai Motors and the battery cells manufacturer, LG Energy Solutions, they were engaged in a conflict over who's responsible. 2 years later, decided to split the burden, with Hyundai taking on 425 billion won, LG and Seoul 700 billion won. So the battery manufacturer paid more. So going back to that Mercedes-Benz vehicle, the particular model is EQE 350, and the battery manufacturer, it has been reported, is Ferasis Energy, which is a Chinese manufacturing company. So Mercedes-Benz Korea expressed its deep regrets for those who suffered damages and said that they are cooperating fully with the authorities.
I see. Well, I mean, for not just the car owner, but also for the residents of the apartment.
This could have been very dangerous.
Right. Well, we're going to move on to another car-related issue with a road in Jeonju that has pretty much been rendered, I guess we'll say, impassable, but for years.
Right. So there's this 50-meter strip of a 2-lane road behind Jeonju's tax office. It's filled with illegally parked cars on one side. So that 2-lane is actually now a single and like a third or a half of a lane. So, and then there are apparently double parked cars on street parking. Yeah.
Do we have a visual?
Yeah.
Or
so
soon we'll get it up.
So
yes.
that's because people are visiting the tax office, and then the employees of nearby private accountants' offices just park their cars there. So it's basically a one-way street with a bit of chaos if two cars do try to pass it at the same time. And according to those who use the road frequently, the problem got serious from 2021.
Okay.
So they lodged complaints to the district office, and things were moving until a new public official took over. And apparently this individual has been quite passive with the parking violation tickets.
Oh, and there's the visual on our YouTube channel.
There is the visual. So,
Very
often
tight.
you do have to kind of get onto, like, cross the yellow to pass. Apparently, of course, with many things, they're citing budget shortages and personnel shortages, and pretty much saying that there's nothing they can do about it. Jeonju City apparently has only the budget to install 4 to 5 traffic cameras per year, and they've depleted that budget for this year. So ultimately, though, there's a parking shortage that's causing this problem, because if people aren't just visitors, but they're visiting or they're going to work and are having to resort to illegal parking, then there's an issue with the buildings, and there needs to be a public parking lot. The City Hall also gave the same response of, we don't have the budget for a parking lot. So, yeah, we understand that is the practical reason.
But still. Yeah. All right.
Right.
Well, that is a very realistic problem, although we don't understand why people feel like, they're tied up in bureaucracy. However, here's a case where a social worker literally saved a life.
Right, because, public officials get a bad rep, but also they can literally save lives. So we're going to Gyeongju for this story, where a social worker, they have a care service where social workers check in with the elderly population that live alone. They call them every single day and visit them in person a couple times a week. So a social worker called an 83-year-old senior on their caseload, noticed that he didn't sound like his usual self.
Okay.
So the social worker was concerned about the heat wave, so they checked in again in the afternoon, which, I'm assuming social workers often are, their work is not
overburdened.
Right. They're not, having a lot of break time. So at which point the man did not answer.
Oh, no.
So the social worker called multiple times and wound up going to his home, found him passed out on a chair in his yard.
Oh my gosh.
So they immediately called 119. His body temperature at the time was 40 degrees Celsius, and that's usually when heat strokes do happen.
Okay.
So he's okay now. He's being treated at a local hospital, and the social worker said that they simply did their job. And a small act of care, they were thankful that this small act helped to avert a disaster.
You know what? They went way above and beyond. Just to notice that the change in the voice.
But then I think, we can all kind of take lessons from this. If you have elderly neighbors or someone in your community, church group, family member, checking in can help.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. Saved a life. Okay, now it is time for 2024 Paris Olympic updates. Well, many countries have perks, including pensions or, bonuses for Olympic medalists, but the Philippines offering huge incentives for its double gold medalists. And this is a story.
The one and only.
Yes.
So this is male gymnast Carlos Yulo. He won the gold in men's artistic gymnastics.
Yes.
He, at the time of him winning his first gold, the second Filipino gymnast or athlete to ever win an Olympic gold. And by the way, and on Sunday, he was on the top of the podium again in the vault. So he is the only Filipino athlete to win 2 golds. Huge news. So in terms of the official benefits and rewards, he will be given 3 million Philippine pesos, which is 71 million won or roughly 51,000 US dollars, a congressional medal, and 10 million Philippine pesos as an incentive. But then, this is why so many people, because this is such a big deal, private companies are stepping forward, big and small. And they're just kind of bringing these offerings. He has received a fully furnished 2-bedroom condo, a lifetime supply of free buffets.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, baked mac and cheese, grilled chicken dish by various chain restaurants. So they're just throwing things at him. They're like, here, take this too. Take this. A local doctor has offered free consultation and endoscopic procedures for not only Yulo until he turns 45.
Free 내시경 for life?
Free 내시경, free 대장 내시경 for life.
Okay.
As well as to any patients whom the athlete would like to endorse. But it's not for life, though, until when he turns 45.
Oh, until he turns 45.
So people are doing what they can. Yeah. This is adorable. I love it.
This is I love it.
Right?
And the smile on his face, if you were watching our YouTube channel.
He just lights
There's
up.
a reason he's smiling, and it's not just for
it's obviously not for the lifetime supply of mac and cheese.
But still.
Yeah.
Look at it. He looks so happy.
Yeah. Let's all just stare.
I love it. All right, one athlete at the center of global attention, and I saw this on repeat. Noah Lyles.
You kind of had to.
Whose race is being heralded as the greatest race in history. I saw it over and over.
Right. So this is an American runner. If you missed out, there are 1,000 clips online. Watch it.
Yes.
One of the most remarkable Olympic 100-meter men's races. So American Lyles, he took victory by, get this, 5,000th of a second from Jamaica's Kishane Thompson.
점 0.00 right?
Yes, that's right. So
Is that it?
usually we only see the Olympics record to the hundredths.
Right.
So 점 00 of the digit.
Right.
However, when there is a tie, they will release it to the thousandths.
Yes.
And this is how he won. And actually, initially, Lyles thought Thompson won, so he congratulated him. And then he said, quote, I congratulated myself. So, I mean, why wouldn't you? By the way, he was, and this was so dramatic because he was dead last by the time he passed the 40-meter mark. So he was 40% through, started having this huge surge, top speed, 43.6 kilometers per hour. He would get a ticket in a school zone. A big one, too.
That's like my car.
That is like my car.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, you know how in Korean speed skating and short track, they do the little foot push?
I was going to say, I wish we,
So just imagine a foot push. You've all
Foot
seen
push,
it.
right?
He did a little torso dip.
Yeah.
So his
torso.
His upper body went to the finish line first, giving him that tiny bit of a boost to win gold.
Yes.
And then here's what's inspirational. After that win, he disclosed on his social media that he suffered from or is still suffering from childhood asthma, dyslexia, ADHD, and depression. He apparently called his therapist before the race, which helped him kind of get into that mentality. So he tells everyone, don't set limits. If I did it, you can do it too.
Right. And they're, just in case for track and field, especially the 100 meters, it's USA and Jamaica, they have this rivalry going. It's like none other. So it's it was, Let's look at Team Korea's performance though. Oh, a lot going on.
Oof. So Cho Young-jae won the silver in 25-meter men's rapid-fire pistol, the first Korean shooter to win a medal in this category. So this has been the best Olympics for sharpshooting.
Yes.
They have won 3 golds and 3 silvers. Testament to how effective the national team selection competition has been. Credits to the Shooting Federation, who the new leadership imposed this tournament-style shoot-off after they decided that the shooters needed kind of more of a big game experience to really not freeze in the Olympic stage.
Okay.
That received a lot of criticism in the beginning, obviously paid off. So this is why it kind of ties to the badminton story. An Se-young, I mean, she had her long overdue coronation yesterday. She was ranked number 1 in the world, solidifies that. Gold in women's singles. First badminton singles gold in 28 years.
Right.
Right. So she did overcome a slump last year after the Asian Games, recovering from a knee and then a thigh injury. And then after she won the medal, she had very pointed comments about, number one, the badminton national team, saying that she just outright said that she was disappointed with the national team because they are very complacent about her injury. And they put just kind of a lot of burden on her.
Sure.
And she also criticized the Badminton Federation for, quote unquote, blocking everything and being negligent in the name of freedom. So just not really caring for the athletes, I suppose. And she also called for a better system where singles and doubles would be treated differently. Apparently, she has faced some challenges to competing in the singles that she wanted to, unless she played in the doubles as well.
I see.
Even with the injury. So this is a story that we'll be seeing for a while. She also named like the Archery Association, saying that she wishes her federation would be like the Archery Association. So moving on, and we'll get to this story more, I'm sure, in the coming days.
I don't know. I this might be controversial. I like that she's outspoken though.
I think it's needed.
I'm just saying.
Right.
I don't know.
And
You
also,
can disagree.
right. Women's table tennis beat Brazil, so they will move on to the round of 8. And moving on to the events for today, men's table tennis, the team competition, round of 16 with 장우진, 조대성, Im Jong-hun. And in sports climbing, women's boulder and lead semifinals with climber 서채현 on the dock.
All right. Lots to look forward to still. So thank you, Haley. We'll check in with you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
All right. Here is your updated traffic and weather. Here's a look at your traffic right now. It's looking congested on the Dongso overpass from Hwangyang ramp to the old Kaegum toll gate. Also slow on Jungangdaero from Yangjong intersection to Songgong three-way intersection. It's also backed up on Chungjangdaero from pier number 4 to pier number 3. As for the weather, it's currently 29 degrees Celsius under sunny skies. It's going to go up to 34 degrees for another hot one. It's going to be a scorcher nationwide, but showers are forecast for the capital area, parts of the west coast, Gangwon, and the southwestern area. Weather authorities warn of gusts of winds with thunder and lightning in certain areas, so please be careful. This was your traffic and weather.
Time goes by.
This is Hung Up by Madonna.
Goes by so slowly. Time 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 goes by so slowly. Every little thing that you say or do, I'm hung up on you. Waiting for you to come, baby, night and day.
Welcome back. So today we've been talking about choosing between a partner who is exactly like you versus someone who is who's a complete opposite of you. I think like if I had to look at the overall ratio of messages, like 90% of you said someone who is the opposite of me. A couple of you did say like Tommy and a couple others said someone who is similar to me. And then Yoonjung Waver mentioned that she would prefer someone, her husband is someone who is the opposite of her. And if she were to live with a partner who is the same as her, yeah, it wouldn't work. It would not work. So yes, I think along those lines, a lot of you are saying that it's not necessarily like opposites attract, but it somehow works that having someone who is not the same as you, it does somehow work. So I do get it. I think whatever it is, you can make it work. Whether you're the opposite of somebody or exactly the same, kind of depends on who that person is. And Lee Kelly name, if you're still listening, mentioning the Lotte Giants. Sadly, seemingly the worst team in the league, but I like going to the games to heckle the other teams anyway. I think that sums up our love and support of the Lotte Giants every season, every year. Year in, year out, we always go and support them because it's kind of a perennial thing, our love for the local team. And now we're going to get to our special interview regarding the Paris Olympics. The Paris 2024 Summer Olympics, well, they have been deemed, at least by the organizers, as the greenest games in history, with ambitious initiatives to drastically cut carbon emissions. However, critics warn that these efforts may amount to little more than greenwashing, pointing out various logistical and practical issues that undermine the sustainability claims. The games face challenges such as inadequate athlete nutrition, uncomfortable transportation conditions, and environmental concerns surrounding the use of the Seine River. And I've also heard of athletes getting sick after actually swimming in the river. We don't even know if that's true or not. There have been stories, though, popping up. So in that vein, we have invited Dr. Tony Heynan, senior lecturer in the School of Chemical Engineering and program coordinator for sustainable energy programs at the University of Queensland. Let's find out what he has to say. Hi, welcome to our program.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Great. So the Paris Games, the Olympics, they have been promoted, at least by their committee, as the greenest games ever, with the organizers aiming to have the carbon emissions of the previous Olympics. That's what they're touting. So can you elaborate on the key sustainability initiatives implemented by the Olympic Committee to achieve their goals?
Sure. Yeah, I think the Paris organisers have done a very good job in many respects. One of the key things they've done is the use of temporary venues. 95% of the games infrastructure, the stadiums that we see, are either existing or temporary venues. So you would have seen around, say, the Eiffel Tower, those stands that are there for the beach volleyball, for example. They're all temporary stadiums. They will be, deconstructed after the games are over. So by doing that, by not constructing, brand new stadiums, I think that's a really big way that the organisers have been able to lower the carbon footprint and lower the environmental impact. But of course, it is held in a city like Paris that has a really good public transport system and has a lot of the infrastructure already in place. But I think relying on that infrastructure really helps the case for being a more sustainable Olympic Games.
So do you think that the criticism of the Paris Games, that it's basically greenwashing? First, I want to get your take on this. Do you think that the criticism is valid?
That's a good question. I think I I mean, the Olympic Games is carbon intensive anyway. So the emissions are around 2 million tonnes of carbon dioxide just to prepare and host the Games. To put that into perspective, that's around the equivalent of the annual emissions of a small country like Malta or the Bahamas. So it's a fair chunk of carbon dioxide emissions just to host the Games. But I think there's a lot of really cool initiatives that are being done in Paris to push the envelope of hosting events. I mean, events like the Olympics, I think, are amazing. The eyes of the world are on Paris. We're all looking at the spectacle that's unfolding in the city. And to be able to do that, I think, has a lot of benefits for humanity. Being able to do that in a way that has a low carbon footprint is the way to go. And Paris is doing everything they can, I believe, to lower the carbon footprint of the Games. So maybe a bit of greenwashing, but I think mega events themselves, regardless of what they are, the FIFA World Cup or Olympic Games, Paralympic Games, they all have a carbon cost. But I guess everything we do almost has a carbon cost in society. So being able to balance those two, balance the benefits versus the gains is a key for thinking about how we view the greenwashing of these games or otherwise.
Well, speaking of balancing, Dr. Heynan, there have been complaints, though, about, for example, the food quality we're talking about some of the world's elite athletes, and also the extreme heat and, with no air conditioning, or even in the transportation of, non-air conditioned buses or transportation. So how are they balancing the logistical versus practical challenges in maintaining the sustainability goals of the events, of this huge event, versus also maintaining the health and comfort of these elite athletes?
Yeah, it is a balancing act for sure. I mean, we've seen a lot of records being broken in these games. So you could argue that perhaps even though maybe there's some grizzles from some of the athletes, they're unhappy about some aspects, still the performance of the athletes hasn't been impacted too much by the situation in the athletes' village. Yeah, the athletes' village itself, as a village, hasn't had a lot of air conditioning installed. There's a lot of geothermal cooling systems, and then some Olympic teams, for example, Australia, have brought in their own air conditioners to cool down areas of the village that didn't have strong air conditioning. So yeah, and I guess with regards to the diet and the cafeterias in the Olympic Village, we know that around 60% are plant-based options. Being vegetarian myself, I have no problems with that, but maybe, yes, some people are more focused on having good comfort food and their own food protein that they want. But I guess, the records would show, well, this has been a very successful Olympics in terms of athletic performance. So arguably, I think the organisers have probably got the balance right in terms of pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable for athletes and for spectators in terms of their individual comfort, versus also, being able to achieve a games that's like, achieving high performance, I guess, in terms of athletes.
Well, one of the challenges in making the Olympics more sustainable is the carbon footprint from the travel and the accommodation of not just the athletes, but officials and obviously the spectators as well. So how have the Paris Olympics addressed this issue, and what more could be done to mitigate the emissions, the carbon footprint?
Sure. We know that around 50% of the emissions from the Games are due to travel, both air travels particularly, also accommodation. So the organisers and the Olympic teams that are coming to Paris have committed, especially the European teams, have committed to travel to and from the Games by train, a lot of the teams. So anything that can be done to reduce the reliance on air travel is probably the key way to reduce carbon emissions. But yeah, still we have a very big carbon footprint from air travel. That's the number one source of emissions for these games. So as we go forward, as we think about the Los Angeles Games in 4 years' time and the Brisbane Games in 8 years' time, there's a growing call to look at sustainable aviation fuels. That's one of the big ways. People still need to travel to the games, but that's one of the big ways that we can reduce the carbon footprint of these games is to have more sustainable and lower emission fuel sources for air travel. And these games really provide the opportunity for companies like aircraft manufacturers and our airlines to really think about pushing the envelope and investing in research and development that can really change the carbon footprint of air travel. So yeah, it's a process, it's a long-term commitment, but I think the Olympics being a commercial venture is part of this process as well.
Yes. And so overall, I know we still have a few days left of the Paris Games. Overall, if we had to compare even from, let's say, the last games or even from, let's say 20 years ago, 24 years ago, do you think that we're moving in the right direction, that the games, whether it's hosted in LA or Brisbane, you say in 8 years from now, that we're moving in the right direction, that we are trying to reduce our carbon footprint as, we're trying to not have these mega structures that we're just deserting after a huge event like this?
I think so. I think things are moving in the right direction. For Los Angeles in 4 years' time, I believe close to 100% of the venues are existing venues. So there's not going to be a very large carbon footprint from construction of new venues, just some temporary venues. And Brisbane as well is also, in that sort of higher end of the use of existing venues. I think overall, we can look at Paris as a real success. It's pushed a lot of boundaries. It's pushed people into eating more plant-based diets, for example. It's pushed people to catch public transport. It's installed 415 kilometres of cycleways to allow people to move around the city a lot more easily. So it's really pushing the boundaries of what can be done in hosting a mega event. And I think, the future of these sort of events is good, I think, because they allow you to do something in a city that wouldn't normally be done. So, you have a business as usual, you go about your day-to-day life, but the hosting an Olympic Games really shakes up the whole way that a city functions. And I think framing it in that way, framing it as a way to re-examine how people catch public transport, how the energy system is comprised, the percentage of renewable energy. So really cast a really a magnifying glass over every aspect of the games and every aspect of how our city works. So I believe hosting the Olympics can really be transformational for how a city operates and therefore as a role model how it can be used in other cities throughout the world.
I see. Well, we'll keep an eye not just on Paris, but of course on Los Angeles and Brisbane as well. Thank you so much for joining us today for our special interview. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This was Dr. Doni Heynan, and we talked about the Paris 2024 Olympics.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It is now time for The Health. We have Bonnie.
Good morning.
In the city. How are you?
I am good, thank you.
Hey, we're going to toss you the text topic
Okay,
today.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. Which would you rather? You have to choose. So imagine your imaginary life partner. Okay, so we're not going to ask you personal questions. So if you had to choose a life partner who is one, exactly like you, or the exact opposite of you.
Oh.
And you can't say like a mixture, and you can't say no. I want to be by myself.
Oh my God. Well, I like myself, so I feel like maybe exactly like me.
A carbon copy?
I'd be scared if it was exactly opposite. Maybe we would clash too much on like, I don't know, moral values and like that kind of thing.
Really? Oh, okay.
If that was opposite as well, obviously that would be a no. But if it had to be one or the other, then I think exactly.
Oh, really?
Like
interesting.
That's not ideal. I don't want anybody exactly like me.
Want a
but
merman.
if I had to choose. Yes, perfect. Yeah, that would be a perfect scenario.
Oh, okay.
Any merman
it
out
makes
there.
sense. Any merman.
Exactly opposite sounds a little scary. I don't know.
But then we had a couple guys that were like, so most people actually wanted the exact opposite. That's why I asked.
Oh,
really? Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, I like me, so
be proud of it.
How I am. Yeah.
Bonnie's like, I like these. I'm gonna go with me. Male me.
It sounds scary. I don't know about that.
All right. So, what are we diving into today?
Okay, today it's hot, everybody.
It is.
Right?
That's like you say it like it's news. So
right?
It's hot.
This is why I'm covering this. Are you sweating a lot more?
In the past few days, yeah.
Right? Everybody, I'm sure, out there is sweating a lot more. It's heat is up. So I wanted to cover proper hydration because when it's really hot, we always hear drink lots of water, drink lots of water. But there are actually proper ways of doing this. And I want to cover a couple better ways of hydrating your body as well. Because when we sweat a lot, which I'm sure everybody is doing, and also in this hot summer, you're being told, drink a lot of water. When you drink a lot of water, you go to the bathroom probably more, right? And so when you're going to the bathroom more, and you're sweating a lot, you're losing actually these essential minerals in your body called electrolytes, right? And most of us actually get these electrolytes from a balanced diet. And these are the main ones in the body are sodium, magnesium, calcium, potassium, and chloride. So you probably recognize some of these that we get from everyday foods.
Okay.
But in instances like now, when we're sweating a lot more and you're probably hydrating a lot more with water, you need to replenish your body with these essential minerals because you're losing a lot of them throughout the day. So why are these essential electrolytes important for you? Well, they power everything in your body. Your nerves, your muscles, even your brain function.
Sure.
So if you're losing a lot, it's important to replenish a lot.
Got it.
So the University of New Hampshire published that electrolytes are really important for controlling the balance of fluid in your body, which means water retention, keeping water in the body when you need it. It balances your body's pH level, transports nutrients to the cells. It maintains nerve and muscle function and regulates your blood pressure and so much more.
Okay.
So we need these. They're essential for living, for life, for thinking. Especially if you're an athlete and you're being active, they're really important for muscle function and nerve transmission. And if you replenish with these electrolytes, they will actually prevent muscle cramps and fatigue and enhance your performance. So I know you always see athletes kind of drinking sports drinks and stuff on the side, not just water, and this is why.
And you see like athletes sometimes they're like, they have like a muscle cramp and they're like, their legs.
Especially
very often.
in this heat, you don't. And if you're a professional athlete or you're doing it, competitively, that's not something that you want in the middle of a game or a tournament. So being low on electrolytes has really negative effects on your ability to just function.
Yes.
So obviously, if on a long hike or if you've sweat a lot or you're dehydrated, you feel not your best, right? Sometimes people even vomit, get really sick. You can't really even think properly, right? And little tasks really seem like big tasks, like walking up a hill. When you're really sweaty and tired, it seems like a huge mountain, right? You can't really do it. So Dehydration is really key to replenish, but while drinking water can help with the dehydration, you're losing so many of those essential minerals in your body. So depletion can cause hormone imbalance, mood issues, the brain fog, and some factors to look out for are if you're feeling some tingliness in your feet or numbness in your feet or hands, or your nails have become quite brittle during the summer. That's a sign that you need more electrolytes, that you're not hydrating properly. So maybe you're drinking a lot of water, but you need more of these minerals. Also, if you're having a lot of constipation, or maybe you just don't feel on your game, like you have more headaches and stuff, then that's a sign that you probably need more electrolytes as well.
Okay.
So I know we see some of these electrolyte drinks, these sports drinks in the store, but I want to say you want to skip those canned bottled drinks because they have a lot of additional sugar.
I was going to say, they're so sugary.
Some of them are a weird color.
Yeah.
You might see
they're
like a bright yellow or
blue,
orange, blue.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different artificial colorings, artificial dyes, chemicals in those. So if you don't have any other option, those are better because they are going to give you those minerals, but know that you're also putting a lot of sugary content in your body.
Okay.
So how to get them naturally?
Okay, here we go.
You can either buy electrolyte powder that they have that you can add to your water, and these are going to be a lot more natural than what you can find in the convenience stores or the grocery stores. This is a great one. Just adding a pinch of salt. So easy. And ideally, sea salt or Himalayan salt can quickly boost the electrolyte content in your water.
Okay.
And farmeasy.com gave us this great tip. Carry around a little baggie of Celtic sea salt. Celtic sea salt has over 80 minerals that we need. And if you just put a tiny pinch of it underneath your tongue, it can be absorbed into your bloodstream within 25 seconds. So if you're feeling that fatigue, that brain fog, you feel really, really just depleted, just a little tiny pinch of the Celtic sea salt and you'll feel better instantly.
Okay.
So carry this around in your purse, in your backpack, even for kids. It's safe for everybody, kids, elderly people. If anybody looks really dehydrated, they've sweat a lot, just put a tiny bit under the tongue.
Okay.
Also, other foods that are really great for electrolytes, watermelon, citrus fruits, and ginger. So if you have any of these, just put some in your water. You can either use the juice or fresh fruit itself, just dice it up, put it in your water, will boost the electrolytes.
Got it.
And a great do-it-yourself recipe for the home, much cheaper and better for you. Just 1 cup of coconut water, a tablespoon of raw honey or any kind of sweetener, agave is great, 1/8 teaspoon of Himalayan salt, and then the juice of a lemon or orange. And this is your really amazing boost of electrolyte drink that you can have throughout the day.
Oh my goodness. So that was surprising. Like, I get it. The watermelon, but the salt, the pinch of salt.
Yeah, because that has a lot of the minerals that you need. So we think like it's summer, we're sweating, so you always think water. But like I said, when you're urinating a lot and you're sweating a lot, there's minerals that are coming out of your body.
That's true.
So a good check for you is, I know when we were younger, parents always said, oh, if your urine is too dark of a color, then you need to drink water. But also if your urine is too light of a color, let's say it's really clear, almost watercolor, or very, very pale yellow, that's actually a sign you're drinking too much water.
Too much water.
So you need to replenish
So what color
minerals.
is good then? Like a
straw colored.
Straw colored.
They say straw colored.
Straw colored.
Like hay or there should be color to it.
But not too pale and not too like orangey dark.
Yes.
Okay.
So check when you're going to the bathroom.
Right.
If it's almost clear, like the water color, it hasn't really changed, then you're drinking actually too much water. You need to replenish with some other minerals as well.
Right.
And not just water, but other foods to help you keep hydrated this summer that are over 90% water. These foods, cucumbers, celery, tomatoes, radishes, peppers, spinach, strawberries, and broccoli. So these are foods to keep plenty of in the house. And if you see, a lot of these have crossover with last week when I covered foods that can help you actually defend the effects of sun damage.
Right.
So we see a lot of crossover with these two, right? Tomatoes, watermelon, strawberries. These are things, so there's a reason why these things are in season right now.
Sure.
And there's a reason why you see a lot of them around, because they are actually really good for your body in numerous ways.
What are things that we should be avoiding, though?
Oh, yes.
This is important.
Yes, during the summer season, if you are drinking alcohol,
yes,
coffee, or sugary drinks like sodas, and I know we really like a refreshing aid, like a juice when we go to the cafe, but those are loaded with sugar. Also, energy drinks and any flavored milks. I know in Korea we love that banana
Flavored milk.
Yes. Kids love this stuff. But if your kids are drinking a lot of that flavored milk, it's sugary. And when it's sugary, that content absorbs the water in our body. So we're getting dehydrated faster.
And you got to read the label. It's not even made from that. The fruit, it says the fruit flavored.
Yeah.
That, and like the percentage of that fruit is like close to zero. It's like the flavor.
Yeah, so
of
better than that, actually, if you eat an actual banana, tons of potassium in it. Yeah, that's one of the electrolytes that you're losing. So go stick to natural fruits and vegetables that you're seeing rather than the artificial stuff.
Yes.
Because these things will dehydrate you. But if you are having, I know we can't say people don't drink coffee. I know. Even if I say it, I know people won't do it.
You know, everybody has their ice, their right now.
Yes,
Come on.
yes. But if you are having that, like the little tricks that I told you, like carrying that little bit of salt around, that's going to replenish what you're doing, dehydrating your body. So just be mindful. If you are having these things like alcohol, coffee, and actually the day after, if you're having alcohol for the day after, some people might not feel the best.
Right.
That Celtic salt trick actually is something that you can do to kind of feel better.
To feel better?
Yeah, because you lost a lot of nutrients and hydration when you're drinking alcohol.
Yes.
So that's a little trick the next day. Maybe you have to go to work.
How much are we talking about? Because I don't want people to be like, oh,
don't
Bonnie
be
told me
dumping a whole bag. No.
Yeah.
Because you can obviously, if you're taking too much sodium, then you're dehydrating your body.
Exactly, right?
So you can overdose on electrolytes. So, and let me say, this is because people are sweating a lot more right now and it's hot. So on a normal daily, like regular day,
you don't need that extra
you don't
salt.
need to like load yourself up with these electrolytes because you're getting them throughout the day, throughout normal food.
Sure.
But right now, because it's really hot outside, we're sweating a lot more. And because I think people are usually drinking a lot more water.
Sure.
Because I'm saying, if you're drinking a lot of water, you're still losing the nutrients and your minerals in the pee. So that's why I'm saying, and for the salt trick, just a little pinch. Like I want to say, for Celtic salt, the granules are kind of big. So maybe just 2 to 3 granules.
Oh, granules, like tiny bits.
Yeah, the Celtic salt is a little bit bigger usually because it's a natural form.
Right.
But like not table salt. Table salt, I would not use table salt. So sea salt or a Himalayan pink salt, and those usually come in bigger chunks.
Right,
so
the
maybe
granules
like 2
are bigger.
to 3 granules.
Okay, so tiny bit.
Yeah.
Because we don't want people like to like OD on the salt. And be like,
don't be dumping the salt into your mouth because you feel a little bit fatigued.
So when we talk about Himalayan, it's the 히말라야 그 핑크 그 소금 예쁜 거 있잖아요. 그거. 예. 그거를 막 드시면 안 되고요. Just like 1 or 2 granules의 그 큰 덩어리 말고요. 작은 거 조금 혀 밑에 is what Bonnie recommends. And obviously we're not doctors, so check with your doctor also.
Yes.
Yes.
But a good tip, do you know the dehydration trick to check if you are feeling the things that I mentioned for electrolytes? But if you pinch the top of your hand, your skin, see how it kind of springs back?
Yes.
But if you pinch the top of your hand and it kind of slowly goes back down, that's also a sign that you might be dehydrated.
Ooh, that's a good. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're feeling a little iffy and you want to check, so your skin should bounce back like immediately. But if you're pinching the top of your hand, slowly go get some water or electrolyte drink.
I'm smiling because I'm going to be pinching everybody all day long.
Are you dehydrated? Are you dehydrated?
Let me check.
Sprinkling some salt in their mouth?
Yeah, especially Tejin and Tommy. If you were here, I'd be pinching your hand. You know why, right? I'd be pinching your hands just to see, are you dehydrated or because you're calling me a penguin and a ghost?
If Catherine pinches you, this is not because of me. I did not condone this.
All right. Well, thank you for such great tips on staying properly hydrated. Not just hydrated, but properly hydrated.
Yes.
And we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Well, great tips. Let's stay properly hydrated. Final song, 비행기 by 거북이. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
차려입고 나선 바깥 풍경마저 들뜬 기분 내가 왔어 하늘 위로 나르는 순간이야 조금은 두려워도 애써 내색할 순 없어 이번이 처음이지만 전에 자주 비행했었잖아 친구들과 말썽장이 거북이 비행기로 올라타 준비된 날 아무 걱정 없는데 왠지 초딱선이 없었나 문득 이거 내 모습 초수했다는 듯
쳐다보지 말아요 다들 처음 딸 때 이러지 않았나요 딴데 봐요 신경 쓰지 마요 나 혼자 이러면 난 좋아요
어떤 느낌일까 정말 새들처럼 나는 기분 세상 모든 것이 점처럼 보여지겠지 개구쟁이 거북이